I've been living in Thailand over 15 years and visiting Pattaya and Hua Hin for this long. So today I'm going to tell you all about both places and compare both of these places. Welcome back to today's video, guys. The first thing we're going to discuss is the location to Bangkok. If we look at Pattaya first, Pattaya is about 90 minutes away from Bangkok. So really easy to get down there. You can go down there on the highway. So you have to pay on the toll roads to get down there, but usually not more than about 110 baht when we did it last week in the car. Buses and vans go down to Pattaya regularly from central Bangkok and from Suvarnabhumi airport, guys. If we're looking at Hua Hin, Hua Hin is about 3 hours away from Bangkok, so proximity is a bit further away. It would take a bit longer to get down there. You have to go down on Ramatu Road, which is a bit annoying. There's a lot of traffic on that road actually going down. And both places, if you're visiting at the weekend, you know, there is a lot of traffic, so you would have to set off quite early to get down there. So I would say, you know, Pattaya is closer, but Hua Hin's a bit further away. I think Pattaya is a better option for Suvarnabhumi airport for sure. You know, it's really good to get back there very quick. We went last weekend and, you know, got to the airport within about 90 minutes. And that was with a bit of traffic as well, guys. You're going to want to go back to the airport quite regularly. Go traveling around Asia. Bangkok's like a hub to go traveling to lots of different destinations around Asia, like, you know, Vietnam is very popular now, China, Japan. There's so many different destinations you can get to very, very quickly from Bangkok. So I think it's really important to live close to Suvarnabhumi airport. Okay, let's compare the two beaches. So let's look at Pattaya Beach first. So Pattaya Beach is a nice stretch of beach in Pattaya City. Next to Pattaya City, there is a place called Jom Tien, where I think the beach is a little bit nicer, to be honest. There's a picture on the screen now of that beach. So if I was going to sit on a beach, it would be in Jom Tien, not Pattaya City. That's me personally, what I think. I have sat on both beaches, and there's deck chairs on the beaches, there's seafood for sale, and lots of different Thai food, Western food on the beach for sale. Beach chairs are pretty pricey in both these areas, just because you're in a, you know, tourist area. If you go to Hua Hin, the beach is, I think, a lot nicer, and it goes on a lot longer than maybe Pattaya Beach. They're both really long stretches of beach you can walk along, but I think Hua Hin is a nicer stretch of beach. Also, Hua Hin has, you know, next to it Khao Tibiak Beach, which is a bit the other side of Monkey Mountain, so that's another good beach you could visit when you go into this area. So both have got good beaches around. I think Hua Hin's beaches are nicer personally, but in Pattaya, if you go out of Pattaya quite a bit, you know, 20-minute, half an hour drive, you can go to somewhere called Sattahip. Really nice beaches around there, beautiful crystal clear beaches there, really, really nice. And I think it's called Hat Sai Gao, one of the beaches I remember going there, and it's beautiful. You have to pay though, it's about 50 baht, I think, something like this for foreigners to get in there. Maybe it was a bit more than that to go to the beach there. Some activities you can do on both beaches, you know, they both have like banana boating and jet skis on both beaches. On Hua Hin Beach, they have kite surfing, which is very, very popular. So that's something you might want to look at. And on Jom Tien Beach, not Pattaya Beach, they have a lot of windsurfing that people do there. So there's two different options for activities. I mean, there's a lot of boat trips going out from Pattaya. You know, speedboat going across to Koh Lan Island, which is another fantastic island and beach you can go to from Pattaya. That's one big advantage. Where Hua Hin, they don't really have any islands you can go to, not that I know of, guys. Maybe you can put in the comments if there's some I haven't been to. I've not heard of anybody goes to around Hua Hin. You'd have to go a lot further south to go to one of the islands. So I think both of them are good options. You know, if you're not bothered, if you want to stay in the actual both cities, then Hua Hin beaches are better. If you want, you know, you don't mind traveling around, I think Pattaya has some amazing beaches, like Koh Lan's beaches are beautiful. Hat Sai Gao, that beach I was talking about, the naval beach in Sattahip is beautiful. A lot nicer than Hua Hin's beaches, if I'm honest. But if you don't mind traveling out of Hua Hin and go south, then there's some wonderful beaches just south of Hua Hin too. Like Sambo Yacht National Park, the beaches there are wonderful. Moving on to talk about nightlife. I mean, there's no real comparison when we talk about nightlife. I mean, Pattaya's nightlife is world famous. They have the world famous walking street, which has just numerous go-go bars, nightclubs, beer bars, restaurants. It's a fantastic place to go. It's entertainment galore there. So if you're looking for just pure entertainment, then Pattaya for sure wins. There's other areas as well, like Soi Buakhao and Tree Town, that are very, very busy, guys. So the whole city is just jumping most nights of the week, especially at the weekend and during, high season. Let's look at Hua Hin now. Hua Hin is a lot quieter. It has lots of bars, but there's no go-go bars. There's just restaurants. There's nice little low-key bars. There's beer bars there, but they're very, very low-key and very, very nice place to chill out, play pool, if this is your thing. They don't really have nightclubs. They do have an odd one around Bindabat, one or two, but they're very kind of small, not that good, to be honest. If you're after nightclubs, then Pattaya is your place, or go back to Bangkok from Pattaya if you want to have a nightclub. But I think most of you guys now are nearly past nightclubbing. I think you're more into just chilled bars or relaxed bars, guys. I think both places are very, very busy on a Saturday night, because there's a lot of influx of tourists coming down from Bangkok at the weekend. And in high season, both places are pretty busy, jumping it, I would actually say, at certain times of year. But in the low season now, I've been to Hua Hin like last week, and it was quiet, I'll be honest. It was very, very quiet and subdued. Now it's the low season there. We're the end of August. So yeah, this is something to consider. Low season, it was very, very quiet there. And I went to Pattaya like a few days ago, and we went out on a Saturday night, and it was very, very, very busy, and it's low season. But the daytime, it was quite quiet, but the night, it was still very, very busy. But this was a Saturday night. It is quite expensive in both places when you're in the central hub. I think Hua Hin wins for prices if you're looking at like Bindabat and then Walking Street, them two areas. I think Hua Hin is going to be cheaper. But if you go out in both places to the local bars, away from the little touristy areas, then I think it's a lot cheaper, guys. Let's move on to talk about the cost of living and real estate in the areas. I think both places have fantastic, apartments, condos, pool villas, houses for rent in both places. They're pretty much on a par with each other. They're two a penny in both them places. You can pretty much get any of them. There's very, very cheap options. I would say in Pattaya, there's more cheaper options than in Hua Hin. But even in Hua Hin, if you go out the main tourist area, you can still find really good bargains there. I mean, utility bills are going to be the same in both places, because the utility is pretty much standard throughout the whole of Thailand. It's not going to be more expensive in Pattaya than it will in Hua Hin. So it's the same price for all utilities. And food is very, very similar. I think there's better priced Western food in Pattaya because there's just more restaurants, so there's more competition. There's so many different types of restaurants in Pattaya, it's ridiculous. So I think there's going to have cheaper deals because they're just trying to compete with each other. There's just too many nearly, so they're trying to get the customers in, so they put the price down a little bit. And I think Pattaya does attract a certain type of person. So you maybe more cheap Charlies go there, maybe I'm wrong. What do you think in the comments? I personally think more cheap Charlies go to Pattaya because there's some good value accommodation there. You can get stuff very, very cheap there if you look around, guys, in other areas of Thailand. So I think that's a good option. I think it's the best option if you're looking for a completely cost of living and you want the cheapest place but still very touristy. Then I think Pattaya is a good place to go to. Yeah, in the hub, central, for sure, it's way expensive, and people will say, don't be stupid, it's really expensive. And these are the guys that have only been to the only tourist areas, Walking Street, Soi Buakhao. Some of these areas are quite pricey, but if you go just a little bit away, it's a lot cheaper, guys. Like living Jontiem, a little bit out now Jontiem, or just 10-15 minutes out the city, it's dirt cheap. And that's what I would suggest if you're going to that area. Live a little bit out of the city. What's the community like and the vibe? I think there's no comparison. Pattaya has a massive entertainment scene, so I think Hua Hin has a nicer community vibe there, because you don't have that in Hua Hin. So I think it attracts a different type of person. So yeah, this is something you have to think about if you're coming to one of these two places, or you're thinking about one or two of these places. I would say generally the community is nicer in Hua Hin than in Pattaya. Now, for sure, there's some people in Pattaya that are lovely, but there is a crowd that aren't so lovely there, I think. Food and markets, I mean, food is just abundant in both places. There's hardly any comparison. There's just so much food in both these places. In Pattaya, you've got ridiculous amounts of markets, cheap supermarkets like Big C, Macro, Villa Market, which is a little bit more expensive. That's kind of your Western supermarket. In Hua Hin, the same. You got Macro, you got Villa Market. So you've got all your Western kind of markets, your Western supermarkets in both places. So, if this is something you're after, then both places have that in abundance. There's not really any comparison. They just both have lots. I mean, Pattaya has more just because the city is bigger. Basically, Hua Hin is a smaller city than Pattaya. There's night markets in both places. In Hua Hin, they have fresh seafood at the night market, Sisadar Market, Tamarind Market. They're the three kind of famous ones. There's a nice night market in Jomtien too that I've visited many times. That's a great market. Oh guys, sorry to disturb you. Can you just press the red button, the subscribe button, just to help us out, helps the channel out. Thanks. And back to the video. Lots of other markets around the city to explore, all selling really good Thai food, Western food, fresh seafood. In both places, Pattaya and Hua Hin, there's no kind of comparisons. There's just loads of different foods, markets in both of these places. I think Pattaya just has more markets because it's a bigger city than Hua Hin, guys. That's the only reason it has more markets. Just the area is bigger. Hua Hin has 2 water parks. Pattaya has 2 or 3 water parks. I've been all of these different water parks. Pattaya water parks, I think, no, actually, they're both really good. Pattaya's 2 water parks are fantastic. They're amazing. But the one water park, Vananava in Hua Hin, is amazing too. So yeah, there's a couple of different water parks, which are really good fun if you got kids to experience in both places. Both places have brilliant places to go from there. So Hua Hin, you can go south, which is just beautiful. You got Prambury National Park, you got Prambury, which is beautiful. Then going down the coast, you got Samroy Yacht, Brajup Kirikan. Just going down that coast is absolutely wonderful places to visit. I've done that recently and they're fantastic places. There's some beautiful beaches, beautiful places to explore, beautiful hiking around that area. Galkalok is another, that's about, I think 40 minutes away from Hua Hin. That's a beautiful place actually, beautiful beach and hiking trails around there. If you think about Pattaya, I think, going away from Pattaya, you got Jomtien, which is nice. Then it kind of gets nicer, I think. You got Koh Lan, obviously the island, you can go and visit. You've got Satai Heap, which is really nice. There's some really beautiful beaches around there. So there's a few places for you. There's obviously lots of other things you can do in the areas as well. What about the climate in both places? Now, I really think Hua Hin's climate is better than Pattaya, and I'll tell you why. I've been visiting both places, and Hua Hin has less rainfall than Pattaya. Pattaya is quite famous for having flooding around the backsides, and I've witnessed this many, many times throughout the years going there. I've been to Hua Hin and both places many, many times, and Hua Hin, I've never really seen flooding there. I mean, yeah, for sure they do have flooding, but I've never seen it there. In Pattaya, I've seen it more than 30 or 40 times. It floods all the time in the rainy season there. The backsides flood, and you can see now on Beach Road they put these pumps that pump the water out when it gets too much in the drain. So yeah, the drainage is not that good around Pattaya city, so this is something to consider. I mean, both have beautiful sunshine year round. That's just, Thailand in general. But yeah, definitely my pick would be Hua Hin for the climate, guys. What about pollution? Pollution in both areas, they do get it, but I think Pattaya is worse than Hua Hin. Sure, in Hua Hin they still get pollution, but I've heard more people in Pattaya moaning about the pollution than in Hua Hin. Maybe that's just the expats that live there who moan more, I don't know. But from my experience and what people have told me, I'm pretty sure that Hua Hin has less pollution than Pattaya. That was a bit of a deep dive into both areas, Hua Hin and Pattaya. I mean, on this channel, I do talk a lot about Hua Hin because I love that area. I think it's an amazing area. But don't overlook Pattaya. I think Pattaya is a nice area. As long as you stay out of the city, I think it's really good and probably underrated. People think it's just, oh, they go to the main city and think that's it. And it isn't. If you just go a little bit out, it can be great. And the expat and retiree scene in both places is really fantastic, guys. What about if you're a digital nomad? I know some of my viewers maybe are digital nomads or thinking about coming out here to work. And I would say both places are okay for working, you know, digitally. I would personally prefer Hua Hin. I think it's better, but to be honest, both places are fantastic. But I think personally, if you're a digital nomad, I would live, you know, near Bangkok, as near as you can to Bangkok, because, you know, if you're going to be networking and trying to do business around Thailand, Bangkok is the place, and you're going to have to travel back to Bangkok quite regularly, so being nearer Bangkok might be more beneficial to you. So I would say Pattaya is better because you can get back a bit quicker. I mean, I personally live in Samut Songkhram. I'm halfway from Bangkok to Hua Hin, you know, so I can actually get back to Ceylon within an hour, which I think that's a really fantastic location for myself at the moment. Okay, what do you think? Put it in the comments which one you choose. So comment below, Pattaya or Hua Hin, and tell me why you'd stay in one of these two places. Okay guys, hope that helps you out, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Take it easy, until next time.